She dumped me with a smirk, saying, "You'll never be more than average," then posted her luxury-filled new life with a rich guy like I was a bad memory. 3 years later, she unknowingly begged me for a job at my company. I gave her everything she asked for, and then took it all away in front of the cameras the moment she signed. My name is Kyle Bennett. I'm 27 now, and a few years back, I was the kind of guy who believed love could survive anything, even being broke. I was working 2 jobs at the time, bussing tables at night and helping a buddy with IT setups during the day, trying to make ends meet while my girlfriend, Mia, was chasing her dream of becoming a lifestyle influencer. She was beautiful, magnetic, and absolutely obsessed with aesthetics and living the life, even if we couldn't actually afford it. We lived in a tiny, one-bedroom apartment that rattled every time a train passed by. I didn't care. I was in love. I thought she loved me back. She always said things like, "One day we'll look back at all this and laugh," or "You're the only one who really believes in me." I used to eat those words like they were gospel. I'd save up just to take her to mid-tier restaurants so she could snap pics and fake a soft launch of a brand collab she never had. I told myself it was temporary, that the struggle was part of the story. I skipped nights out with my friends. I pawned my gaming console to buy her a camera upgrade. I even took a cash advance on my paycheck once, just to help her buy some designer bag she swore she needed to get into a collab with a micro brand. I convinced myself we were building something together. Then came the cracks. She started acting distant, checking her phone constantly, hiding her screen when I walked by. She'd say things like, "You just don't get the pressure I'm under," or "Not everyone wants to settle for mediocrity, Kyle." At first I blamed myself. I thought maybe I was holding her back. Maybe I needed to work harder, earn more, be more. And then one day she left, no warning. Just a note on the kitchen counter that read, "Kyle, I can't keep pretending this is enough. I'm with someone who can give me the life I deserve. Please don't contact me." Her stuff was gone. Her side of the closet emptied. Even the framed picture from our first anniversary, gone. I sat on the edge of the bed, heart in my throat, trying to process how everything just shattered in a single afternoon. But what hurt more than her leaving was how she made it look like I was just a phase she outgrew. 2 days after Mia left, her Instagram blew up. She'd soft-launched the guy. His name was Chase. Real estate developer, mid-30s, sharp suits, yacht selfies, the works. The kind of guy who probably had a personal chef and didn't know what ramen noodles tasted like. She didn't even try to hide it. One picture had the caption, "When you finally level up, your life blessed manifested." People in our circle noticed. Friends stopped texting me. Some even liked her post. I guess I was just the guy she practiced on? The dress rehearsal boyfriend before she landed the role she really wanted? I'll never forget the post that broke me. It was a short video clip of her sipping champagne in a penthouse. The camera panned to Chase, handing her a Louis Vuitton bag and kissing her forehead. She laughed and said, "This isn't like the birthdays I used to fake hype just for the gram. That was aimed at me. I knew it." She used to say that exact phrase when I scraped together a birthday surprise, balloons, dinner I cooked myself, cheap wine. She'd smile at the time, say it was cute, but now it was a joke to her. I wasn't just hurt, I was humiliated. People started treating me like I was some sad footnote in her glow-up story. "Man, you see what Mia's doing now," my co-worker Josh whispered one day at lunch. "She really upgraded." I nodded and smiled like it didn't sting. But inside, I was burning. That night, I stayed up watching videos on software development and coding boot camps. I remembered a guy from my IT gig once telling me, "Tech doesn't care where you came from. If you can build, you belong." I didn't know how yet, but I decided I was going to build. I deleted all my social media, blocked Mia, cut off distractions. I moved into a smaller, cheaper place closer to the train tracks and used the extra savings to buy a cheap secondhand laptop and enrolled in an online course. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want pity. I didn't want motivation speeches. I just wanted results. Mia thought she left behind a broke loser. But what she didn't know was, that night, she'd just triggered the birth of someone completely new. The first few months were brutal. I'd get up at 5 a.m., knock out a few modules of the coding course before work, spend 9 hours hauling cables and monitors for the IT setup job, then go straight to the restaurant to bus tables until 11 p.m. When I got home, I'd study more, usually until I fell asleep sitting up, fingers still resting on the keys. No one saw this part. No fancy posts, no inspirational captions, just dark circles under my eyes and a growing fire in my chest. I wasn't chasing money. I was chasing never being powerless again. I learned Python, then JavaScript, built a few clunky web apps, crashed a lot, failed a lot. But every time I got something to work, even if it was just a stupid to-do list app, it felt like I was rewriting my story one line of code at a time. I stopped thinking about Mia, or so I thought. But one day, a coworker shoved his phone in my face and said, "Yo, is this your ex? She's doing some interview thing now on YouTube. Dating rich must be working." I didn't want to look, but I did. There she was, dolled up in designer clothes, smiling at the camera like she owned the world. The interviewer asked her, "What's one thing you've learned about dating up in life?" Mia laughed. "Honestly, don't waste your youth being someone's emotional crutch. If a man doesn't already have what you need, he probably never will. I mean, you can't build a castle on hopes and loyalty." That line, it punched the air right out of my lungs. Hopes and loyalty. That was me. That was everything I'd given her, and now it was a joke. I turned off the video, closed the tab. Then I opened my code editor and stared at a blinking cursor. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just whispered, "Okay, watch me." From that moment, it wasn't about her anymore. It was about me. About proving that I was never the weak link, that I didn't need anyone to validate my worth. Every time I hit a wall, I pictured her laughing in that interview. And every time I powered through it, I felt like I was building the blueprint to something she'd never be able to touch again. 16 months later, I launched my first actual product, a simple financial planning app called Savor. It wasn't flashy, but it was clean, efficient, and did one thing really well. It helped freelancers and gig workers set automated savings goals, track expenses, and file quarterly taxes without the usual headache. I'd built it entirely on my own. Back end, front end, UX, everything. I posted it quietly on Reddit and a few startup forums. No expectations. Just something to prove I could finish something. And then, it took off. A freelance designer from Toronto tweeted about how it saved her hours every week. A YouTuber picked it up in a top 5 tools for creators video. Then a small financial blog featured it. And that's when the floodgates opened. Thousands of downloads poured in. I upgraded servers twice in a week. I was pulling in more in 1 month than I used to in 6, but I still didn't post anything. I kept my face out of it. I branded it under a company name, Beacon Core. Just clean, minimal design. No ego. A year after that, Beacon Core had 5 employees, 250K active users, and a seed funding round that brought in $1.3 million. My bank account had commas in places I'd only dreamed of. But the weirdest part? I felt calm, not smug, not vengeful, just free. I got a new apartment, sleek, quiet. Nobody knew where I lived except my team. I took care of my mom, paid off her debt, bought my little sister a car when she graduated. I thought I'd buried the past. Until an email came in from our marketing inbox with the subject line, "Sponsorship Inquiry. Lifestyle Influencer W 300K followers." I almost skipped it. But then I saw the name, Mia T. My chest went tight. I clicked it. It was her. Pitch deck, media kit, curated language about how her audience trusted her recommendations for financial independence. She said she was looking for a long-term brand relationship with a rising fintech company, said our branding was a perfect fit. She had no clue I was behind it. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the screen for a long time. Funny how the world works. She left me for a rich guy, and now she was unknowingly trying to impress me for a check. I didn't respond right away. I let her email sit in the inbox for 3 days. Then I forwarded it to our team Slack channel with a short message. "Let's take this one. I'll handle it personally." Nobody questioned it. To them, I was just the head of strategy and product development. Public-facing CEO duties went to Megan, my brilliant co-founder. That was intentional. I never wanted the spotlight. I emailed Mia from my company account using my full name, Kyle Bennett, Strategic Partnerships, Beacon Core, no titles, no mention of me being a founder. She responded within minutes, all bubbly and eager. She didn't seem to recognize my name. Maybe she never bothered learning my last name. Maybe I'd been that forgettable. We set up a Zoom call. She came on, face glowing, studio lights perfectly angled. "Hi, Kyle. So nice to meet you," she chirped, hair flawless, voice sugary. I kept my face neutral. "You too. I reviewed your proposal. Looks promising." If she recognized me, she didn't show it, but something flickered for a split second in her eyes. A glitch. Like her brain almost placed me, but decided against it. She pitched hard, said she could make our app go viral, that her audience needed tools like ours, that she could do exclusive posts, reels, testimonials. I played along. I asked thoughtful questions, acted impressed, even tossed in phrases like, "We'd love to help you empower your audience." It was surreal, watching her treat me like a brand opportunity when just years ago, she called me a burden. I wrapped the call with, "We'll draft something up. If it makes sense, we'll move forward. Sound good?" She grinned. "Can't wait." After I hung up, I sat in silence, hands shaking, not from nerves, something deeper. This wasn't about money. It wasn't about pride. It was about the moment she would find out the truth. But I wasn't going to scream it at her. I wasn't going to throw it in her face in a DM or petty post. No. I was going to let her come to me. Let her walk right into the world she once said I'd never reach. And when the time was right, I'd show her exactly who she handed over for a bag and a balcony view. We drafted the contract. Standard stuff, deliverables, rates, terms. I made sure to add a few little clauses only someone actually reading would notice. One said the contract could be terminated at any time by either party if expectations weren't met. Another gave us full creative control over any deliverables using our branding. Mia didn't bat an eye. She signed within the hour, even DM'd our Instagram to celebrate the start of something huge. I pretended to be our social media manager and replied with a fire emoji. Over the next few weeks, she started pushing content. Stories showing her using the app. Captions like real money tools for real boss babes and Beacon Core helps me stay in control while I grow my empire. I watched every post, every fake smile, every performance. She still didn't recognize me. I even saw her in person once at a pop-up event we co-sponsored with another tech company. She strutted in like she owned the place, sunglasses on indoors, camera crew trailing her. When I introduced myself, again as Kyle, strategic, she lit up. "Oh my gosh, you again. You're always so chill. We need more people like you in this space." I nodded, glad to hear that. She leaned in, touching my arm lightly. "You know, I almost feel like I know you. You remind me of someone from my past." I smiled. Maybe I just have one of those faces. That night, she posted a story calling me her favorite new biz bestie. The irony nearly broke me. I wasn't doing this to be cruel. I wasn't trying to destroy her, not really. I just wanted her to feel the weight of everything she threw away, and not in a rage-fueled blow-up, but in a calm, inescapable truth she couldn't run from. My team loved her metrics. Engagement was up, downloads spiked. Everything was working. But the plan wasn't over. Not yet. We were preparing for our biggest moment, our Series A press event. Dozens of investors, journalists, clients. The first time Beacon Core would step fully into the public eye. And Mia, she was already on the guest list. She just didn't know who she'd be walking into that room to support. And I couldn't wait to watch the moment the mask cracked. The Series A event was held at a private rooftop venue in Midtown. We'd rented out the space, brought in a full AV crew, catered gourmet tapas, and lined the walls with screens looping our growth metrics, brand story, and user testimonials. Megan would handle the keynote. She was the face. That was always the agreement. But this time, I'd be stepping up too, for the first time publicly. A short segment titled Vision Forward, a fireside with our founder. I knew Mia would be there. We'd sent her an invite weeks ago, framed as a preferred partner appearance. She RSVP'd instantly with, "I can't wait to support you guys." I arrived early, checked every mic, every screen. My palms were sweating, but not from nerves, from anticipation, from knowing I was finally going to reclaim the version of me she tried to erase. Mia showed up 40 minutes late, of course, wrapped in some metallic designer dress that probably cost more than my first year of rent. She came in posing, blowing kisses, live streaming. I watched from behind the curtain as she panned across the room on her phone, captioning it leveling up with my favorite fintech fam boss moves. I wondered if any part of her had the faintest clue what was coming. The event opened strong. Megan was magnetic, funny, polished. Our pitch was airtight. The audience was locked in. Then it was my turn. As I walked on stage, I heard the MC announce, "And now please welcome the founder and visionary behind Beacon Core, Kyle Bennett." There was polite applause, then confusion, whispers. I saw Mia's face, her brows knit together, her jaw dropped. The phone in her hand trembled slightly as she lowered it. We locked eyes. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. I smiled. Just a soft, steady smile. Nothing flashy. And then I began. 3 years ago, I was working 2 jobs and learning how to code in a rented room with no heat. I built this company not out of a desire to get rich, but out of a desire to never be disposable again. I didn't look at her the whole time. I didn't have to. She was crumbling in the crowd, and I hadn't even gotten to the best part yet. The applause after my speech was warm, stronger than I expected. A few investors even stood. I stepped down from the stage slowly, calm, collected, and walked straight past Mia without looking her way. I could feel her eyes locked on me, confused and burning. I made my way to the media lounge, where I knew she'd follow. 5 minutes later, like clockwork, she slipped in through the side entrance, pretending to check her phone. Then she turned, locking her gaze onto me with the fakest smile I've ever seen. "Kyle," she said, walking up, her voice high and tight. "I can't believe you didn't tell me you were the founder. This is incredible." I raised an eyebrow, sipping my water. "Didn't come up." She laughed, too loud. God, you're so humble. That's why I didn't recognize you. You've changed. I didn't respond. I just let the silence hang. It was like oxygen being sucked from the room. Then she tried the next card. Listen, this might sound crazy, but I feel like we were meant to reconnect. She took a step closer, placing a manicured hand on my arm. It's so rare to find people you vibe with in this industry. I stared at her for a beat too long, then smiled. You're absolutely right. She relaxed, visibly. Thought she had me. But I wasn't done. I pulled a folder from the nearby table and handed it to her. This is your final deliverable. You've completed your contract obligations. We won't be needing additional content moving forward. Her smile twitched. Wait. What? We're parting ways, I said plainly, effective immediately. But why? My numbers are good. I built engagement for this launch. You did, I nodded. And that's exactly why I waited until after the launch. I watched the blood drain from her face as she realized what was happening. You used me, she whispered, eyes wide. I looked her dead in the eye. No, I said, quiet and calm. You used me. I just returned the favor. She stood frozen, folder in hand, mouth slightly open, as photographers filtered into the lounge and began snapping post-event candids. I turned to shake an investor's hand. And just like that, Mia was no longer the center of the room. She didn't leave right away. I could see her hovering by the catering table, pretending to check her phone, fidgeting with her dress, glancing around for someone, anyone, to give her back a sliver of control. But no one was paying attention to her anymore. The spotlight had moved, and she wasn't ready for that. Meanwhile, I was swarmed with people, investors, journalists, fellow founders. Everyone wanted a quote, a handshake, a photo. Mia stood just a few feet away, invisible for the first time in her life. Later that evening, she messaged our brand account. Hey, I'm just really confused. Was this personal? Can we talk? I replied simply, we already did. You just didn't know it. After that, she went quiet. But it didn't take long before her desperation started leaking through. A few days later, she emailed me directly, this time not from her influencer alias, but from her personal Gmail. Kyle, I didn't know, I swear. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't reply. She followed up with another. Can we please talk? Just once. I need to explain. I left it unread. It wasn't anger anymore. I wasn't interested in punishment or rubbing it in. I didn't want her back. I didn't want closure. I just wanted my peace. And I finally had it. Because the truth is, revenge doesn't always have to be loud. Sometimes the sweetest kind is just existing in the life they said you'd never reach. Walking past them in a room they never thought you'd be in. Smiling while they panic. A week later, I saw she deleted all her Beacon Core posts. 2 days after that, she posted a story about toxic brands and needing to focus on healing and growth. I muted her. Not because I was bitter, but because her story didn't matter to me anymore. My story had moved on, and for the first time in years, I was finally writing it for me. In the weeks after the event, everything exploded. In a good way. Our press coverage was glowing. Investor confidence surged. App downloads tripled. We secured another $4.5 million in funding, and our team grew from 6 to 24 in under 2 months. Megan and I started getting invites to speak at panels, fintech podcasts, even university entrepreneur programs. I kept a low profile, mostly. But when I did speak, I told the truth. Not the messy relationship part, but the part about building from rejection, about using hurt as fuel without letting it eat you alive. A few journalists dug up old photos of me bussing tables. One even wrote a piece called From Breakup to Breakthrough, How Beacon Core's Founder Turned Pain into Profit. I didn't love the headline, but I understood why it resonated. I'd become the very thing Mia left me chasing, but I didn't become it to win her back or make her regret it. That was the twist I didn't expect. All that fire I'd used to push myself wasn't about her anymore. One afternoon, I got lunch with Josh, the guy who used to mock me about being the broke ex. He looked across the table, shaking his head. Dude, I still can't believe she didn't recognize you. That's insane, I laughed. No, what's insane is that I thought I needed her to become this. He raised his glass. Well, she made a billionaire by mistake. Not quite a billionaire yet, but close enough for the joke to land. A few nights later, I pulled out an old shoebox from under my bed. It had the photo of me and Mia from our first anniversary, the one she took when we were still sleeping on a mattress on the floor. I stared at it for a minute. Then I tore it in half. Not with hate, Not with bitterness, just closure. I tossed it in the trash, sat back, and took a deep breath. That chapter was done, and the next one was mine to write, with no ghost from my past holding the pen. Today, Mia's just a name that sometimes pops up on old mutuals' stories, always trying something new. A skincare line that fizzled out, a short-lived podcast, an online course about branding your glow-up. None of it stuck. We never spoke again after her last email. She stopped trying eventually. Maybe she realized there was nothing left to say. Meanwhile, Beacon Core is scaling globally. We just closed a partnership with a major financial institution, and I'm leading product development for our next platform, something that'll help first-gen entrepreneurs get access to the tools big corporations gatekeep. I bought a house outside the city, quiet, surrounded by trees. I go on long walks every morning with my dog, Apollo, a rescue I got after our Series A. My mom visits on Sundays. I finally convinced her to retire early. She cried when I paid off her mortgage. Sometimes I still get flashes of the old life, the version of me who scraped together rent, who tried to turn love into a ladder out of struggle, but I don't hate that guy. He was necessary. He built the foundation, brick by painful brick. I just wish he'd known that being left behind isn't the end. Sometimes it's the start of everything. The truth is, I don't regret Mia. She showed me exactly what kind of world I never want to belong to. And in doing so, she pushed me into the one I was meant to build. One grounded in effort, not appearances. Real connection, not clout. Peace, not performative success. I didn't win because I got rich. I won because I learned that worth isn't proven through someone else's approval. It's claimed, quietly, consistently, and fully. And no one can take it from you once you know who you really are. Have you ever been counted out by someone you gave everything to, only to rise in a way they never saw coming? Let me know in the comments if you've ever used heartbreak, rejection, or betrayal as the fuel to build something greater. Your story might just inspire someone who's stuck in the same place I once was. And if my journey resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to define success on their own terms. You don't need validation from someone who couldn't see your value in the first place. Maybe they left you, maybe they laughed at your dreams, maybe they replaced you with someone shinier, richer, louder. But here's what they didn't count on. You becoming everything they said you couldn't. So to everyone out there quietly grinding, healing, rebuilding, keep going. Success isn't just about money or titles or proving them wrong. It's about building a life you don't have to escape from. It's about waking up one day and realizing you're not chasing them anymore. You're leading your own story now. And that story, it's worth everything.